Oh, hello. Welcome to the Celestial Mystery Hour podcast, Reunited. This is the beginning of an epic adventure between myself and my co-host.
Why are you standing so weird?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're coming back fiercely and in other word ways, and we're back. You know, I couldn't say much more of that. Today we're talking about us being back and some other weird things. You want to say anything else?
God bless. What was their podcast?
Something about like psychology or something like that. So, all right. Well, we're live. We're live. We're recorded.
Coming to you live.
So we can go ahead and start. So I don't know if you want to lead in or if you want me to lead in because
you're the man.
Okay.
I'm the second seat.
So we are bringing it back. We did a podcast probably a month or so ago. Yeah, it was like October.
Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween
pod.
And we've been stewing on the idea of doing Celestial Mystery Hour again, and here we are. So we're going to this first episode's just going to go over just that we're back and kind of some of the plans we want to do, what we want to talk about. It'll be video podcast. It'll be an audio podcast too.
We're upgrading.
It's just easier to record now because we have the roads, so it's a lot easier to kind of set up and meet somewhere and just make a video, and it records it to the video, and I can strip out the audio later.
We should put it in 432 herts.
Oh, yeah.
Upload it that way.
Yeah.
Now
so,
you were talking.
So
you can get the birds in real time.
The healing sequence, the sequency. So, I mean, eventually we'll probably go back to, I don't know. I like kind of filming on site.
I like too. On location.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
From
we can meet up,
graveyard.
Go to different parks, you know.
We can go wherever we want, Brandon.
We could do a graveyard.
We can go wherever we want.
Well, I don't have the lighting for that, but...
We can go back to where it all fell apart when we jumped the shark for the Halloween special.
Oh, we want to go back to the place where we got lost?
Yeah, where we got lost and then just never came back.
We
had a good thing going, Brandon.
We did.
What happened?
You got sick.
I did get sick.
And then...
then I had a midlife crisis.
We had a midlife crisis.
And we saved.
And we tried to restart it, and that didn't work. We also did too many things at once. We were doing, at the beginning...
Yeah.
We'd hang out for about 3 hours, record 3 episodes. They were all an hour long. We had some guests.
I like the guest episodes, but the best where we were just riffing.
I think the best guests are the guests that could riff with us.
We're going to pick up that airplane?
Yeah, probably will.
I have to cut that.
Nah, we'll be okay.
We'll fix that in post, Brandon.
That's the beauty. We're not going to fix most of anything in post. Nah, podcasts are meant to be live with some music in the front end and the back end, but we keep all the bad stuff in outside of the real bad stuff, then we take that out.
Yeah.
We take that out.
Yeah. There is no real bad stuff.
There's no real bad stuff, but if it got in there, we would have to take it out. Then after the first season, we went into like news. News didn't really work.
News didn't work well at all.
And then we went into...
This was a terrible idea on my part.
Then we went into, I don't know, the last one was kind of just philosophy and then like stoicism and theology and your religion. So we were talking a little bit more about that stuff, and then it was going all well and good. And then Michael got sick.
I did. I had gastrointestinal.
And we were trying to do the midweek morning show as well.
That was a lot.
It was two, because we tried to do...
we could capitalize on our success, and it just didn't pan out.
We thought we could do a show that was less like spooky and more like just kind of whatever. And it didn't work out because it ended up being like... it wasn't bad. It just wasn't the same thing. And... we didn't want to talk about certain things that would be better suited for Celestial Mystery Hour.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the big thing with this is just kind of what is it going to be? Is it going to be which version of it? It's probably going to be closer to the third, or we're just talking about life and certain things and just kind of our thoughts. And
I like thinking about weird stuff in general.
Yeah.
I like abstract thinking. I think that's the biggest thing for me where I needed that outlet. Mm-hmm. Like for me, the past 3 years, I've just been like stewing. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me why I didn't be quicker to turn it back, because it was like, one, I think I tried to make the podcast and before I left or whatever, like a grindstone for my faith.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think it should be that, right? Like, I think you can talk about different things and also postulate about different things and not hold that belief, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can consider things and talk, but I think I have to see everything through the lens of my faith.
Yeah.
But also another thing for me was I had to come to the conclusion, like, of finding myself again. Like, I feel like some of the stuff, like, I used to be out of my mind in some of those episodes.
I remember one, the suicided one.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
It might get re-uploaded. But the whole thing is like, I had to find myself. I had to refine my faith. And like a lot of that stuff, like I'm embarrassed that we put it out because it was poor quality. Like not even just poor quality. That's not the best version of myself, right?
Yeah.
But it was also poor quality.
Like us as people and our topics.
Yeah, of course.
Audio was pretty good.
Yeah, audio was great. Audio is always great.
I can't promise it'll be amazing on this.
Sure. But anyway, yeah, so now I'm at a point, like with me, I'm healed up. Mm-hmm. I think. I still got some stuff going on, but I'm the next year for me, but the next 3 months are going to be completely focused on my health.
Good.
And getting back to where so I'm doing like 2-a-days. I'm doing like, I got the sauna. I was going to tell you this. Sauna every day.
Good.
I got the red light therapy going to the tanning bed. You're going to see me get tanner over the next few episodes. And, but the whole thing is like, once I rediscovered like my Christian faith, I had to ask myself like, what can I do and what I can't do? Mm-hmm. And so I think now I'm in a better spot with all of that. Yeah.
And I think a lot of the topics we do have, it's nothing, again, none of it's going to be to a point where it's like,
right.
Like, you know, I don't hold a lot of the beliefs that we talk about,
right.
But I think there's always a room to discover and conversate about it. Because if you don't talk about it, you don't think about it, then you don't know about it. And knowing about it is, I would half the battle when it comes to, you know, specific talking points or specific ideologies.
Well, I like just thinking through things in general. And we see things in a unique way.
I would say so.
I'm pretty eccentric. You are too. I mean, I think you're way more eccentric than I am, but I probably think more eccentrically than you do.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
I'm a little weird, yeah. I'm a little weird.
But yeah, man, I'm just happy to be coming back because I missed it.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing that was we were just talking about a little bit ago was like with refining yourself and like working on yourself, like, you know, it's putting in your life the things that you care about and making sure that it matters to you in a good way. So it's like less about pleasing everybody. It's more about like, what do I need to succeed in whatever my path is? Is it, you know, healthier eating, more activities that, you know, work my body and my mind, and or more faith-based stuff? Or who do I cut out of my life that is dragging me down? And I'm not like looking to win anything, but the thing you're winning is your life. And it's like the quality of life is found by doing quality activities, eating quality food, and then being around quality people. And that goes at like, you know, all spheres. You know, it doesn't have to be somebody religious. It just needs to be the people that surround you, make you a better person, and then also want you to be better. Like, because that's a big thing that happens in my generation for like the millennials is you'll see somebody that's succeeding that isn't like you, and that's your friend, and like part of you's like, well, I hope they lose their job.
But what does that come from though? Because I've seen that.
I think that's.
I've thought about that a couple times, but I don't know where it comes from.
For our generation, I think part of it comes from the promise that college is a guarantee to being.
Yeah, you thought you were making all the right decisions.
No matter what, you can go in and get almost any degree, and then get it and get successful, have a house, you know, maybe have some land, and that turned out to be a lie. So I think there's some resentment to that because a lot of people took degrees that they didn't think they would need, or they went into a degree that everyone said they should do.
Yeah, everybody said just get a degree. Doesn't matter, just get a degree.
Or everyone go into STEM, and now there's too many science degrees with computer science stuff, and it's like everyone's fighting for their lives to get just normal pay. So I think part of it's that. So when you see somebody successful in your age group, you kind of get upset, and you're like, you kind of want them to go, because it's like the same thing with like Joe Burrow, you know, for the Cincinnati Bengals is about my age. Patrick Mahomes is like a year older than me, and they are multimillionaire professional athletes, and you're like, what happened to me? What did I do wrong? Well, I wasn't an athlete, but
well,
you can't be upset that someone's taking different steps in their path, because at the end of the day, the steps you take are usually your own. But I think there's just a lot of anger from like being misled by parents and guidance counselors at schools, and I think schools still do a pretty poor job about what college is really necessary for, and it's not necessary. You literally can do a trade school, you can do other things and find it and like set people up. But
well, I went to college, and I think I would say, and I would say that
couldn't tell
a lot of what that I think that I've learned more
on the job.
Not just on the job, but in my own studies than I ever did in college. Like, it's kind of crazy because they're just like, they give you like 3 books that you have to buy. and then the teacher does a couple lectures based off the books, and it's like, I'm not learning anything that way.
Well, I remember with my wife when she was going into teaching, like the professor that was teaching would not teach the way that they were being taught to teach. So like the professor wasn't a teacher and wasn't teaching them how you would actually teach students. And under like the philosophy of like, this is how you're supposed to teach, they wouldn't do that. I'm like, well, that's kind of hypocritical that you're the teaching major and you will not teach.
They didn't do the teaching school didn't teach how they were supposed to.
Yeah, and honestly, 90% of the university teachers would not teach the correct way because they're not teachers. They're foremost. A lot of times they were in a career of that, like physics or whatever, that are retired as teachers teaching that subject. They don't know how to teach it. They just know the subject.
Those that can't do teach.
Yeah.
And those that can't teach gym.
Yeah.
You remember that?
So it's a weird. It's a weird thing about, and we've talked about
that in post
many a times. It's like you may know the subject really well, but you don't know how to express it to somebody who doesn't know. And I think a lot of the times what the old podcast, this podcast had was we would talk about philosophy and the way you would think about life in the modern day in a way that made it easy to, as a layman, to kind of understand it, because we're not being so. Again, I hate to use the word the elite, but like people go like, oh, what would Socrates say about today? It's like, it's not about what they would say. It's applying the ideas of philosophy to modern day, not thinking about, oh, what would this philosopher say about today? Well, he's gone. It doesn't matter what he says. How would you approach modern day as you're in it with the ideas of these philosophers and what they were teaching or what they believed in, or through your faith? Like, how does modern day affect your faith? What can or can't you do? What can you ingest in terms of media, entertainment, or what can you do? What activities you're allowed to do? Strip clubs, bars, partying, probably not on the table for most people, but you can enjoy playing a video game. You can enjoy watching a movie, for the most part, as long as it's not your entire life and you're not watching stuff that is completely an opposite of your belief system. Like if I believe in a certain way, I'm not going to go watch a movie about a dude who just goes on a rampage and murders a bunch of people. Like, what is it? The one with the axe that he dresses up. American Psycho. There we go. Never seen that movie. Never plan to. Don't care. It's just not really. I don't want to watch a dude going crazy and murdering people because he gets into murdering. So. There's probably more to it, but I'm not going to watch it.
I also like talking about weird stuff, Brandon. Yeah, and you'll entertain some weird stuff with me.
Yeah, and it's way better in public because people can walk the dog, and be like, "What the frick are these guys talking about? What are you saying?" And they got to look at you weird.
I know, I like it.
One of these days, we'll probably get somebody to be like, we'll just ask them, like, "What do you think?"
We can do a man on the street.
Well, yeah, that's why I love these. You could do it.
But about ghosts, tell me your ghost story. I always like that. That's my favorite.
I do like the ghost stories. It's definitely died down, but I think
what do you mean it's died down?
We just don't have a lot of stuff happen.
Oh, I'm not talking about you. Just people.
I know in general. Yeah, I definitely think so.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. Well, there was one thing we were talking about. I was saving for the podcast when we were talking because you were talking about your past selves running from your past.
Yeah, man.
And a part of it, when I was looking at our past videos, we got the camera. I have been filming a lot more. Like we just filmed Christmas, so I filmed it. And I filmed both families, and I made it with a filter to make it look like it was through a handy cam because I like the old handy cam videos. But about your past, is there something cool about having that these moments are captured and you can go back and rewatch it? And not that like someone's like, oh, I'm dying to rewatch Christmas of 2024. But when Atticus is 25 or 26, I have these. They're digital. It'll be way easier to keep than the VHS tapes and all that stuff. And you can go back and look at yourself and look, whoa, that was me. And then the people around you, there's all these memories that you may have. You have fragments of it, and that's something Alan Watts talks about, like a moment that you had yesterday. You could not physically describe everything that happened in a room, but a film can capture that. Pictures take a moment, and then a video takes a whole minute. And you get to see everyone interacting. You can see all the emotions, the conversations, the chaos in it. But there's something nostalgic about that, and especially because you're going to forget a lot of the stuff, and it'll be a nice way to reminisce on, the good times that you had with your family or your friends. And because Morgan was really upset with that, my wife was really upset. I was recording. I was like, dude, I want to record this because it was so cool.
She was upset about Christmas.
She was upset.
It's a quintessential dad move, dude.
Well, I've learned that if you just record, you don't have to interact with anybody. You're just filming the chaos. I was like, this is why my grandpa always did this.
The observer.
Yeah, but it was really fun, and it was just good, fun chaos. And we were rewatching it, and there's some funny bits, like my wife was like trying to she's like, why are you filming? No one's going to watch this. I'm like, I'm going to edit this tonight. And then later on, she's like, oh, let's do something funny. I'm like, no, don't do that. You don't even want to be in this. I knocked her out of the frame. And it's just funny things like that, you remember, but with seeing it live in the future, it'll be really cool.
Do you think that it takes away from the beauty of life to always have everything recorded? I know it takes away from, I think, the simplicity of life.
I think there are times where you need to be present in the moment, and I think recording stuff takes away. So I like to do it in hand, like a handy cam, because you're still present. You're still doing it, you're just filming it. And it's the shakiness and the zooming that I was doing a lot to kind of replicate the 90s of really zooming into something. That it means you're more present because you're focusing on something else and you're talking, you're doing it. I wouldn't want my entire life recorded. It's just moments.
But we are. That's the scary thing. I mean, it's literally, it's I remember there was this movie back in the early 2000s with Matthew McConaughey. It was called Ed TV. You remember that show?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I do know. I didn't watch it, but I know of it because it's been in a couple of videos that I've watched.
Oh, that's weird. Well, the whole premise is he has the show, but I can't remember the whole thing, but basically it's about a film crew follows him around and just records his life. Mm-hmm. It's dude, 10 years later, that's literally what's happening.
Yeah.
And people are, they're doing it for and that can't be good on the psyche, right? Everybody, they think that they're the star.
Yeah.
And what does that do for our society? It's there's no, I thought the Lord was coming back. There's no care about other people at that point. Everything is done to be framed. Yeah. You're doing activities not for the enjoyment of them.
Yeah.
But you're doing it just to share it with other people.
Yeah.
It's are you truly doing anything for yourself anymore? Even though your mind is selfish, you're all about the approval of other people.
Yeah, and it's hard too because before we get on that topic, what I was going to say was what I like about the actual camera versus your phone is I hate when everyone is recording it on their phones and they're doing their Snapchat and Instagram and all that stuff. What?
I said yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you can be on your mic. You can walk around.
Yeah,
you don't have to be in frame.
It's kind of fun.
I don't know what the range is on it, so don't go too far.
I'm not.
I hate that everything is recorded on your phone because it takes away, I think, from the fact that it's being filmed. And I think having a camera kind of reminds you, this is separate from social media. This is separate from, because it's not ultimately connected to everything.
Yeah.
Immediately. You have to go home, you have to take it off, you have to edit it.
Right.
There's still a process where I get to go and look at these and physically, because when you take it on your phone, you just you take it, you forget about it, and a year later, Google goes, hey, you remember this? Mm-hmm. Hey, you remember that? I'm but this is a little bit more involved because you have to sit down and film and do it when you're trying to I want to capture some moments. And I was talking to Morgan about how if we did Christmas and I just put it on the tripod and put it in the corner, it would look weird. But since I'm in there with everybody doing stuff and just capturing moments that I can, it's more authentic.
In some sense, though, it's the all-seeing eye, right? It's you can't get away from it.
Yeah,
it's I don't want my whole life to be recorded.
Yeah, and I think there's and I like to have these for myself and for our family. These would never be posted, but I get that because there was a YouTuber talking about something about how all of these people are YouTube isn't fun anymore because people aren't making good stuff anymore because everyone's focused on making their ads, making their money because it's their job essentially. And my point was, I commented on that video, well, there are still people doing fun stuff, but it's the people who are doing it for a hobby that actually want, they care about something. They're oh, I want to make a video on this and talk about it or film something. They're not people who are out there filming every single aspect of their life, but they're I have an idea, I want to create it and talk about it. And those people still exist. And there's a line that crosses where you start making money off of something, if we did it with the podcast, but essentially this will never be something that would be the gig.
But do people still listen? That's one of the topics I want to talk to you about, Brandon.
Do they?
Do people still listen to podcasts? I sure don't. I've gotten away from it.
I listen to one podcast, maybe two.
It's why are we doing this? You know what I mean? We were getting big for a second, Brandon. We were getting pretty big.
Well, I think the why we do it is the same reason why there's still creative people on YouTube. There's things we want to talk about that I feel people aren't talking about in a way that I think uniquely that we have conversations.
What's the value add of our podcast? Why would people tune into our podcast?
Well, originally we were what was it? We were what was the tagline of some the B movie TV show of
what was it? Yeah, I kind of remember that.
It was we're like the late night radio show or something that.
Right. There's different things, and I think that's it for me, right? There's different things like I listen to old Art Bell, man.
Yeah, I love it.
I listen to that stuff, and I just think like there is a part of our culture that's been lost. That old, that's why I prefer. Honestly, I don't really like being on film. Like I know we got to do it because everybody's on YouTube.
Well, we don't
now.
have to. We literally don't have to use the video if we don't.
But you
want
have to, like to get it out there. You have to. Like I mean, that's the thing. But we've gotten. I mean, maybe we don't. But I'm just saying, like, something's gotten lost with that late night, vibe.
The
like,
radio.
And then they'd have guests on that, like, were loony. Like, every single one of Art Bell's guests, like, in hindsight, like, if we had the technology now, like, the modern internet and stuff, every single person that he had on there was a goofball. About. Because now you look at them and they got all this mystic stuff.
You telling me Mad Mike, the time traveler,
Dude,
didn't time travel?
And the funny part about it was, Art Bell, though, he knew it was all lame. But it got the public consciousness to think about, and you could say it's a good thing or bad thing, right? But there was something fun about that.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's one of the things that I like is, in some sense, that tickles that, or whatever, scratches that itch for me of having it. Because now, you go and listen to stuff, and it's all about weird prophetic stuff, and buy your gold and all that. And it's like, man, I just want... I don't know. I just like to talk about the things I like to talk about. Yeah. That's what, for me, that's what I think we were getting at with that. It like recaptures that. Yeah. And also the philosophy stuff, like you said, like, and I don't even know that philosophy is the right word for it, right? Like, it's not philosophy. But it's more than just lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, so what is it? It's a way of thinking about things. But I think now what I'm the most excited about now is, one, I think that we could really do it better because I'll be sober and in my right mind. Praise
100%.
The Lord. Second of all, I'm thinking clearly. And third, like, we've got more broader topics too because we have more life experience. Like, you're a dad now.
Yeah.
Double dad.
Double dadding.
I'm living my life and being weird.
Yeah,
I'm back in church. I think that adds to it.
And I just quit my binge drinking episode of 4 years. Well, I didn't binge drink, but I did drink every weekend. So it's almost binging. But being a dad was terrible. I look back at some old photos of my mustache being full, and now it's not even like close to being that. I'm like, oh, what did I do to my young self?
I know.
Yeah,
well, that's my thing though. So, but what do you foresee for our audience for the future? Or if this is just us listening to it, because here's what you touched on it earlier. I was going to say this. One of the problems is there's a couple quotes that make me think about it. I think Young said, or one of these guys said, I'm sure it wasn't him. I'm sure it was somebody else. But it said, he that has a why, or what was it? Basically, it was something like I'm going to butcher this, okay? Sorry. Don't fact check me on this. Something like, he that has a why can bear any how. Yeah. Or something like that. Like, and then the best one, I believe, Seneca. It's like, without a port, no wind is favorable. In other words, if you don't know where your destination is, then you're just aimless. Yeah. And that's where I've been. Like, I don't have like a generic destination, but unless you set your goal, you'll never know if you're successful. Yeah. And so for you, Brandon, before I say that, my most recent video on YouTube, and the next one that's coming to follow it, whenever I finish it. Is that going to be on this same channel? We haven't decided yet. We're going to figure that out before we post. But it was without purpose, but not without effort. It was so I don't know what my goal is, but I'm trying to put maximum effort. And the next video is with a purpose and maximum effort type of stuff, where it's more of like, this is like set in stone, like this is what we're aiming towards, and what we're doing is going to lead us to that. But yeah, say that again. That's what we're aiming for, and the steps we're taking is going to lead us to that. Okay, yeah. So goal setting. Goal setting. Yeah. So it's what we were talking about. So it falls in line perfectly. Yeah. What we're going to do with the podcast is, you got the creative mind, Brandon. That's why I always look to you. Well, you're in touch with the people. The redux. We're just gonna post it without reduxing, but just the old celestial mystery. Are we bringing back farce images? I always look at his Fiverr. We could probably do it. No, I'm not saying a new one. Yeah, the first original. Let's go back to the original. We can bring back the old three. We still got to do one more where it completes the manga. Well, I'll say if we continue this for more than completes the manga. Excuse me. If we get that was unfortunate. If we get through like a couple, maybe a couple episodes, I'd say like half a year. I'd say it's worth getting the final one done. Like, hey, Farth, remember us? Can you? He's still around. Yeah, he's still around. Still probably living. Get him over here on a visa. Dude, if we could. I don't know if we should, but I think he'd like it. Never mind. Hey, Farth. What's up, bro?
I would say the goal of this is to kind of just get back into the swing of things first couple episodes. I'd say our schedule is once. How do you want to post? Like it's like
Well, so what I want to do
minutes.
is make multiple on the same day. So we're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, how many do you want to post a month?
I would like to do one a week.
One a week?
But we'll see.
We'll see. Once a week, if not once.
It's got to be consistent, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, whatever we
And
decide.
I feel like one a month is not enough to get that consistency.
Well, if we're doing shorter episodes, I think one a month
Right.
is not too far. But if we were doing like really long ones, I think once a month is fine. But since they're going to be a little shorter, I think maybe like once every 2 weeks.
I will tell you this. Now with the ChatGPT world and the world that we're living in, I prefer concise.
Yeah.
Like, give me a half hour. But there is, if we had a good topic, like the old Rogan episodes, where you just get into that topic and it's just saturated and deep and you have a good, then I say let it roll.
Well, there's a lot of, we're unscripted. We're in the park.
No,
There's a lot of.
Really?
What? There's a lot of recovering of the same ground. And I know there was one great.
We need to ruthlessly probably edit some of this stuff if we get off.
Well, I think the thing is, once we have a timeline set, we just start a timer when we do it. And we just, within that time and when it's done, it's done. If we're cut off on a topic you cared about, well, hopefully we cover it next episode.
Right.
Because Morgan used to be very upset that we would talk about something and then like we'd get off topic.
We did too many topics.
And then we ended up never going back to it. So
do you think, Brandon, that we should stick on a topic longer and really, I think that might be the best way. Like if we start off with a topic and then just drive as deep as we can into that topic and then just think about it at all angles.
Yeah, and if we feel like we've covered something, we can move to something else.
Because we talk about like 15 things.
Yeah.
And that was part of the charm.
Yeah.
But we're at different places now, Brandon.
Yeah, we're at a park.
Beat-town Extreme.
Completely different place.
I'm in a different place in my life. You're a double dad.
Double dad. Double D dad.
I'm excited we're back.
But yeah, so we'll probably just post. We'll figure out that after this episode, but I think that will come to a close. But I think the goal for us is to kind of get back to where we were on that path of gaining viewers and getting people engaged and thinking about things, hopefully in a positive way, and in a way that maybe they didn't see before. We used to have a patron who like subbed, and he was a young kid and said it really helped him figure his stuff out, and I'm happy with that. And helping one person like that
is true.
Isn't the goal, because we're making this to make this, and as people.
So really, the goal is the journey. It's the friends we made along the way.
Really, the journey is the podcast we made along the way.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's really, when you look at people
the friendship
who make
we made along the way,
great material, great art, aren't setting out to make great music, great art. They're making stuff that they find enjoyable, that they would want to listen to. Yeah. And then if you make something that is like the people will make their minds up and they'll find it. It only takes one viral click, post, one couple word of mouth of people. We used to love listening to these guys. We love listening to these guys. It's just a fun video.
For me, though, it's quality.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I want to present good quality stuff that's not super formal. Like the best, I'll ask you this before we end it. Because I'm curious to know.
Yeah.
Well, you're the man, Brandon. You can tell me when to end.
Call me Editorpa.
Listen, Editorpa.
Editorpa.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Gesundheit. What was I saying? Oh, no, listen. So, the best podcast, probably the best ones I've ever listened to, were probably, one, I used to listen to some comedy podcasts that were really good. Mm-hmm. But those guys will never, I'm not funny. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll throw some wit in every now and then. But, like, dude, I'm not Theo Von. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, so I like listening to those. But then I also like listening to, like I said, Art Bell, and those subjects in the Joe Rogan episodes where he had just that awesome guest on. Mm-hmm. But what I really liked is when they would just go real deep on something. And this is, I think, the bottom line for me. I like podcasts that make me see a perspective that I never saw before.
I agree.
And that's what I think the best episodes that we had, and probably the feedback that we should have been getting from our patron, was that it was helping him think about things and developing himself. Like, we're not, in my opinion, at least I'm not giving advice. I'm just telling you to think about your life and my own life too. Like, I think that you should think about everything. Like, you should entertain different ideas. And my favorite times, like, I love to just take a walk and have that epiphany. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's been like that with different podcasts. Is like, sometimes you'll hear a podcast and it's like something clicks and it's like, wow, my life is never going to be the same.
Yeah.
And those are the moments that I live for, and I hope that our podcast can bring that out for somebody.
That gives us a good way into our sponsor, Manscaped.
Yes.